Absolute pleasure to be with all of you today. Just to be brief in the 10 minutes that I'll have here to speak with all of you, I really want to give some reflections on how we got here and where are we going. You have enough other functional experts in the room that can speak to the data of vamorolone and the questions you would have for your different care teams across the country. Also feel particularly fortunate to be here on the 30th anniversary of the organization, the 9th anniversary of the Family Forum practice, and we look forward to being a part of this for many years to come. I'll just advance the slide if I can. There we go. So it's not lost on me that Kye and myself are amongst the newest participants to the DMD community, having joined this group a couple of years ago as we worked to bring vamorolone as the first treatment for DMD to Canada. And so today I really have just 4 slides to share with you. One is an introduction of our organization. Another would be a bit of a history of AGAMREE and how we got here. Then what's next in terms of finding reimbursement for that therapy so that there is equitable access for all families and boys that could benefit from that treatment across Canada, as well as for future DMD treatments that will follow, and we hope there are many more as well. And then a few hot topic questions that I expect might answer some of the top questions in people's mind across the room. So just before I jump into that, Kye, if you're wondering, is a Gaelic word for holder of the keys. That's where the name of the company came from. And we are a company based here in Toronto. We are founded in Canada, focused only on Canadian patients. So unlike many other pharmaceutical companies in our industry, all doing the same good work, Kye was formed to find medicines that are available in Europe or the US that are not otherwise being brought to Canada and being made available to Canadian patients. So medications just like AGAMREE, where the parent company does not have a presence here, and without our organization or companies like Kye, we could see the unfortunate situation of Canadian researchers and families contributing to the global science and not at the end of the day having access to the treatment once it's available in other countries around the world. So one slide with respect to Kye Pharmaceuticals, we're only 4 years old. We really only started selling medicines in Canada in 2021. And in that time, we've been very focused on identifying, licensing, and commercializing medicines, as I mentioned, that are approved and of value and clinical utility in the US and Europe, but not otherwise available to Canadian families. As you can see on the slide, it covers a number of different therapeutic areas. And AGAMREE is not our first medicine in the neuromuscular space. One of the first medications we launched in Canada was amifampridine, or Firdapse. This is for a more rare neuromuscular condition of Lambert-Eaton myasthenic syndrome, and that was launched in 2021. We're also not new to the pediatric space, although we're now combining those two perspectives to be working closely with pediatric neuromuscular centers across the country. We have brought to market and will bring more to market in ADHD medicines. It was interesting to see Dr. McAdams' slide earlier today with the relatively high prevalence of ADHD in this community as well. And certainly our medicines in Quilivant, which has been available now for 1 year in Canada, and Dianaval, which is now approved and will be available next year, are medicines that are supporting those pediatric ADHD needs across the country as well. And in 2024, we licensed from Catalyst Pharmaceuticals in the US, at the time of their approval south of the border, the opportunity to bring AGAMREE to Canadian patients, and have been very fortunate in working with Health Canada, who granted us a priority review given the absence of other treatment options in Canada, and also brought that through that review very successfully in only 6 months. And normally, a normal drug review time is 12 months or longer in Canada, and Health Canada worked closely with us to expedite that timeline, and we were very pleased just a few weeks ago on September 29th to be able to get the great news from Health Canada that we had the approval here north of the border. So a very brief history of, to show you some of the long road to bringing a medicine to market, and this one is very specific to vamorolone. So folks in this room have certainly known Eric Hoffman far longer than I have. And as you saw in one of the previous sessions today, how the steroid molecule had been altered. This was in part the brainchild of Eric Hoffman many years ago, 2008. He and two of his research partners founded Rehabilitation, which was the company that knew this was possible and looked to take it through and into phase 1 clinical trials. 10 years later, you had the phase 1 and phase 2 trial work published. And then Rehabilitation turned to Santhera. Santhera acquired the global rights to develop this medicine further, take it into phase 3 trials, and as John mentioned this morning in his opening comments, worked very closely with Defeat Duchenne and Defeat Duchenne's generosity in supporting the Canadian clinical trial sites in developing that trial further and continuing to provide access to that medicine on an experimental basis in Canada for those families that were already in the other trials. 3 years after that, recognizing Santhera is only a European company to provide access to North American patients, Kye Pharmaceuticals, based in the US, acquired the rights for North America. Catalyst is also our partner for FIRDAPSE, the other neuromuscular medicine I mentioned just a moment ago. And so they knew they had a trusted partner north of the border. And when they acquired those rights from Santhera, they included Canada so that we were able to partner with them and bring it to patients right here. As I shared just 3 or 4 weeks ago, we were very pleased to have received final approval from Health Canada. We're now working very closely with manufacturing to expedite having the medicine here in Canada, and I believe our experience with McKendry will be the fastest time between approval and medicine getting to Canada of any medicine that we've launched so far in Canada. So coming very soon. The next step will of course be critical, will be reimbursement. These medicines are expensive. I fully acknowledge that. We will have to work closely with private insurance companies and with the provinces to ensure that there is equitable access so that this treatment can benefit as many people as possible. To that end, where are we headed? One slide, even though we could speak all day about the reimbursement process of medicines in Canada, but recognizing for this community, this being the first approved therapy, these pathways may be relatively new. And so this slide really encapsulates 4 steps along the way from a medicine being approved to a medicine being publicly reimbursed and on the provincial formularies in each of your respective provinces. The good news is we're past the orange circle. So we are past the point of Health Canada approval and in about half the time as it would usually take given the priority review. The purple circle there is a 6-month review with the Canada Drug Agency. That is also underway. CDA has accepted and has partaken in a parallel review. So they began their review process even before we had the approval in Canada, all in an effort for all of us to expedite this treatment to market. We do expect their report early in the new year, and then we will move to the probably longest part of the process, which is the negotiation with the provinces for that final listing. I'd point out on the bottom, not to put a dampener on the expectations of the room, but to inject some realism into the path forward and the timelines. These are not specific to DMD at all, but I would tell you that it's an ongoing conversation with government at all levels. It typically takes 17 to 25 months after approval in Canada for a drug to be publicly reimbursed across the provinces, whereas in Europe it takes 3 to 6 months for that same process. And so we are cautiously optimistic that given the lack of other treatments and the voices of all of you in the community, that we can expedite that as quickly as possible with this particular treatment. And obviously we should be working towards, as an industry, always trying to bring that closer to the European timelines. So a few top questions, and I'm around the rest of the afternoon as well. So if these aren't your questions, happy to address any other questions at the break. Also members of our team in the back that will be here tomorrow, you raise your hand. Julian is our commercial lead for general medicines, and Amy is with us as our rare disease lead. They will be here tomorrow as well. So if you have other questions, please feel free to reach out to them. When will AGAMREE be available? That's one of the top questions we get. We should have an exact date in the next 2 or 3 weeks, but we are currently working on the assumption that we would have the medicine available in Canada by the end of January. That's unusually quick, and ultimately we also need to have it be appropriately reimbursed. How much will it cost? It will be expensive. I do not have the final price. We will have that by about December to be able to communicate. But to give you a sense of the magnitude, it will be a medicine that's in the tens of thousands of dollars a year. And that is why it will only really be accessible to patients once we appropriately present and negotiate with the insurance companies and with the provinces so that they can offer that at no cost through to patients across Canada. Is there a patient support program? There is a patient support program already up and running. And so if in conversations with your care team at your respective neuromuscular center, this is a treatment that you end up choosing to pursue, you can enroll in that support program, see if there's eligibility for bridging therapy to get started before there is insurance or reimbursement in place, assistance with reimbursement navigation, for example, and other typical components there, and we can speak either with yourselves or with your care team about how that support program could assist. When will AGAMREE be reimbursed on public formularies? I wish I knew that answer. It's the million-dollar question. We are working, as I mentioned, as quickly as possible to make AGAMREE available and reimbursed across the country. The CDA will finish their process in February or March, and then we work with the provinces negotiating after that. And so my loose expectation at this time would be we would be looking at late 2026 or early 2027, again, depending on the timelines of those negotiations. And finally, how to make your voices heard. I think you're already doing that by being here today and your ongoing work with Defeat Duchenne, with Muscular Dystrophy Canada, with groups in regionally and locally in your areas. I invite you to continue to do that. This is a new journey for this group in that AGAMREE will be the first, but hopefully the first of many treatment options that will come north of the border and be available to Canadian patients. And one of those skills that we can augment and work through together will be advocating on behalf of ourselves as patients and as community members about which medicines should be reimbursed. And I believe tomorrow on the agenda, there's a session that actually speaks directly to that, on what you can do, who you can speak to, and how do you raise your voice to advocate for any and all treatment options to be available so that your respective care teams can choose from any treatment option in the future as to whatever they think is best for you and your child. With that, we're a small company, so we're very open to being contacted directly. My email is there. Amy is the rare disease email is there. Invite you to come up with any questions this afternoon as well. We absolutely look forward to the journey ahead. Very pleased to be at a point where we finally have a treatment approved, and I will be more pleased, hopefully, when we have the chance to speak next year about the progress we're making on ensuring that it is reimbursed so that it's genuinely accessible to everybody that could benefit from this treatment. So thank you very much. Good to see you all today.